Welcome back to another Pen Talk. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for coming along the ride as I explore things in the world of pens. Yes, I received a package from China today, and this one has a pretty good history behind it. In here should be 4 bottles of PenBBS ink. It is extremely well wrapped in tape. What I find interesting is it says the contents is empty bottles, 4 empty bottles. Pretty heavy for 4 empty bottles. So when I was on Tobu Focus buying my PenBBS 492 pen, I saw these inks. Here's what that screen looked like. And they were a couple dollars a bottle, which was excellent. So I decided to delve in. I ordered 12 bottles. I figured shipping would be expensive, so I wanted to pack as many into each package as possible to spread the shipping across. So it turned out that 3 of the bottles I ordered were not available. I think that happens a lot. It happened with my first 492 order. So I ended up with 9 bottles at a delivered cost of a little bit under $90. So that was a little bit under $10 a bottle. And there's 15 milliliter bottles and the 60 milliliter bottles here. So it's a mix of different size bottles. And I think that's great. The shipping, I ordered these in the beginning of February. The first package of 5 bottles arrived at the end of February. And it actually spent less than 2 weeks in shipping from the time that the Tobu Focus packaged and sent it to the shipper. This package took about 3 weeks, so it left about a week later for some reason and didn't come here as quickly. But I got detailed tracking. Here's an example of the tracking on this package towards the tail end of the shipment. And it shows when it was delivered, which I still find amazing. So I'm going to open this up and we're going to take a look at these inks, and maybe you might like them. So inside the box that was done for international shipping was this box, which my guess is the original box that Tobu shipped it in when they shipped it to Tobu Focus. Here are the 4 bottles I got. 2 of the large size, and I would call them more standard size, and then 2 of the smaller ones. This is one I've been looking for a while. Hyacinth Macaw. It's number 103. And all of these are sealed very well. And usually somewhere on here is a date code. Looks like June 28th of 2019. So it's right above the barcode. And this is number 135, which says was Beijing. Here's what it looked like in the Tobu website when I ordered it. And this has a date of 2019, March 28th of 2019. Now these are newer series. This is like season 18. They name them by seasons. And this also has all that same information there in Chinese. And this looks like it was March 25th of 2019. You can see a picture of the label on the front of the bottle, which is somewhat indicative of the color. Here's what it looked like when I ordered it. I have trouble picking out ink, and this one is Danro, again a part of the Shining series. And this has a date of 2018, March 28th. So these smaller bottles have been around for a while, but Venice sells the bigger bottles, and they also sell samples, but they also sell a lot of other ends. And that's the best source of PenBBS inks in the US. So here's what these inks look like on paper. This is Maruman, which is fairly well coated, a little bit more well coated than my Fabriano paper that I use, but not quite as much as Rhodia or Clairefontaine. So this was the first group I got. And Burning of the White House you've seen in a number of pens, including the Kiwi pen. Then we have Zhaozing, which is really like an orange. And I kind of equate this to kind of like Apache Sunset. Bamboo One, which is a really nice green. And Sambu, which is a very similar green, but this has a sparkle in it, which hopefully you can see. And then this Shimmering Series Kai, interesting color, also with some sparkle. Moved down to the second group I got, and this was written with the burning of the White House. As you can see, it's a even more sparkle to it. And Hyacinth Macaw is a phenomenal ink. It's an ink, like I said, I've been looking for a while. Really nice blue, great flow, feels great on paper. Of all these inks, that one is the nicest one from my perspective. Beijing is an interesting color, kind of in the brown-red family, which I don't have any ink that kind of emulates that. Maybe ancient copper to a certain degree, but not quite. Then we have South Tobacco, which is in the teal family, different than the bright greens that we had up here. And then last but not least is this another Shining Series, Dan Ruo, which is definitely a lot of sheen and certainly in that kind of like red with a tinge of purple in it. So we're going to take a look at the color card and some chromatography. So the first 5 inks I've shown in a number of pens, and we'll delve into them a little bit more deeply when I use them, but let's just focus on these 4 inks that I got in the second batch. As I mentioned, the Hyacinth Macaw is really a bright, great blue. And a little bit of red sheen to it, which you can see here in that where I put it down, but it's just blue. And we look at the chromatography, we'll see more blue. And like I said, this just feels great on the paper, looks great on paper. So I'm very impressed. Can always use a nice blue. We're going in numerical order, so here's Beijing, which I have to admit I didn't know what to expect with this color, but it's certainly like a deep reddish brown. And the chromatography is very interesting. You can see that kind of reddish brown, kind of like a brick color, and then like that brilliant strip of blue at the very, very top. Interesting combo. So here we have 292, which called South Smoke and also South Tobacco. This has a little bit of shimmer to it. Didn't come out quite as much in this sample. I use a dip pen to do these with, so sometimes it doesn't pick up as much as you would if you pulled up ink into a converter. If we look at the chromatography, it's just pretty simple. Mostly blue, green. You don't see any shimmer there at the bottom. You know, kind of a dark shade here. So it's just kind of an all-around nice teal. And then we're looking at Dan Rue, which is again another ink I didn't really know what to expect, but this came out with a lot of shimmer in it. And it certainly kind of has a purplish pink, pinkish purple shade to it. The chromatography is very interesting. You got kind of a nice red, and you see a little bit of that sparkle there at the very bottom where I put down the first line of ink. But then you got that brilliant blue at the top, kind of similar to the blue that we saw at the top of Beijing, but certainly more of it. Definitely an interesting color that I'm going to enjoy in the right pen. So I just wanted to show the other Shining Series. I got 312, which is this Shining Series Ka. And this also came out with some nice glitter there. Definitely a dark kind of brownish green. And the chromatography, as we saw with Dan Rue, is very interesting. But here, that very top shade is almost like a black, a very dark charcoal color. And you can see that glitter there at the very bottom when I laid down that initial line of ink before I dipped it in water. So one of the things that I do is I put a little post-it note on the top of the bottles just so I know what ink is in them. And with these smaller bottles, where there's no real identifier on it, I put a little bit of a label on the back with the number. Yeah, so that's useful. And this is at South Smoke and or South Tobacco, and you can see that glitter at the bottom of the bottle. And when you do shake it up, it'll get into suspension. And just to show you the other ink, that 313, which as you can see has more sparkle in there. So I'm not certain how they determine how much glitter, sparkle they're going to put into each ink. Is it science or is it art? So in closing, you may ask, why do I get so much PenBBS inks? Well, number one, I like them. I've liked them from the first bottle I ever tried, and I like them now, and I probably have about 20 some bottles. As many of you know, I don't count, so it's kind of mine. I got a bunch, and they cover a wide range of colors, and I think they all work extremely well as inks, some more than others, but all of them are quite nice. And I never got into hematite, the J. Herbon ink with glitter in it. That was their first one. Maybe they've gotten better, but their expenses certainly kept me away from them. But I enjoy these. I think the price is right. Now that I found a way to buy them from China, I may occasionally delve in. I'll see if season 21 comes out. So that's it for now. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed a look at some inks that you may not have heard about, known about. At least now you know how they write, how they look, and maybe you might find some interesting. And head over to PenBBS. I'll give you the link in the description. They have some. Or if you're adventurous, Taobu Focus could be an option. So we're going to say bye for now, and until the next video.